War and Peace, Chapter 2. Anna Pavlovna's drawing room was gradually beginning to fill. The highest Petersburg society was there, people of widely differing ages and characters alike. Alike only in the social milieu to which they belonged. Prince Vasily's daughter, the beautiful Ellen, came to take her father to the ambassador's fete. She wore a ball gown and her lady-in-waiting in sign. The little Princess Bolkonskaya, known as the most bewitching woman in Petersburg, also arrived. She had been married the previous winter, and being pregnant, no longer attended any of the gala evenings, but still appeared at small gatherings. Prince Vasily's son, Prince Ippolit, came with the Mortemart, whom he introduced. The Abe Morio and many others had arrived. "Have you seen my aunt, or you're not acquainted with my tante?" Anna Pavlovna said to each new arrival, very gravely leading him to a little old lady with towering bows on her cap, who had emerged from another room as soon as the guests began to arrive, and slowly turning her gaze from the visitor to my tante. She would pronounce their names and withdraw. Every guest performed the ceremony of greeting this unknown, uninteresting, and unnecessary aunt. Anna Pavlovna followed these greetings with solemn, melancholy attention, silently approving them. My tante repeated exactly the same phrases to each of them concerning his health, her own, and that of Her Majesty's, who, thank God, was better today. Out of politeness, the guests concealed their impatience, but it was with a feeling of relief at having performed an arduous duty that they left the old lady, not once to return to her during the entire evening. The young Princess Bolkonskaya had brought her needlework in a gold-embroidered velvet bag. Her pretty little upper lip, shadowed with a barely perceptible down, was too short for her teeth, and charming as it was when lifted, it was even more charming when drawn down to meet her lower lip. As always with extremely attractive women, her defect, the shortness of her upper lip and her half-mouth, seemed to be her own distinctive kind of beauty. Everyone took delight in watching this pretty little woman, brimming with health and vitality, who soon, to become a mother, bore her burden so lightly. After being in her company and talking to her for a while, old men and sombre, apathetic young men felt themselves becoming more like her, more animated. Talking to her, and seeing in every word her bright smile and flashing white teeth, made a man feel that he was in a particularly amiable humour that evening, and this was true of everyone. The little princess, her work-bag on her arm, moved around the table with quick waddling steps, and sat down on a sofa near the silver samovar, gaily arranging the folds of her dress as if everything she did was a joy to herself and to all around her. "I have brought my work," she said, opening her bag and addressing everyone in general. "See here, Annette," she added, turning to her hostess. "I hope you haven't played a trick on me. You wrote me that it was to be an toute petite soirée. And you see how I am got up? She held out her arms to show her exquisite lace-trimmed grey dress girdled with a wide ribbon just below the breast. "Don't worry, Lisa. You'll always be the prettiest," replied Anna Pavlovna. "You know my husband is deserting me," continued the princess, addressing a general in the same tone, and as always in French. "He's going off to get himself killed. Tell me, why this dreadful war?" She said to Prince Vasily, and without waiting for an answer, turned to his daughter, the beautiful Ellen. "Quelle délicieuse personne que cette petite princesse," Prince Vasily said to Anna Pavlovna in an undertone. One of the next arrivals was a stout, heavily built young man with close-cropped hair and spectacles, wearing the light-coloured breeches fashionable at that time, a brown dress coat and a high jabot. The stout young man was the illegitimate son of Count Bezukov, a celebrated grandee of the Empress Catherine's time, who now lay dying in Moscow, having just returned from abroad where he had been educated. Pierre had not entered any branch of government service, and this was his first appearance in society. Anna Pavlovna greeted him with a nod she accorded the very lowest rank in the hierarchy of her salon. But despite this minimal greeting, when she saw Pierre enter the room, a look of unease and fear came over her face, as at the sight of something monstrous and alien to the place. While he was indeed somewhat bigger than any of the other men in the room, her anxiety could only be ascribed to his intelligent, observant, though shy, and very natural look, which distinguished him from everyone else in the drawing room. "It's very kind of you, Monsieur Pierre, to come and visit a poor invalid," said Anna Pavlovna, exchanging a look of dismay with her aunt, to whom she was leading him. Pierre mumbled something unintelligible and continued searching the room with his eyes. As he went toward the aunt, he bowed to the little princess, beaming with delight, as if she were a close friend. Anna Pavlovna's fears proved to be justified, for Pierre walked away from her aunt without waiting to hear her speech about Her Majesty's health. Appalled, Anna Pavlovna detained him with a question. "Do you know the Abbe Morio? He is a most interesting man." "Yes, I have heard of his plan for a permanent peace. It's very interesting, but hardly practical." "You think not?" Anna Pavlovna rejoined, simply to say something and return her duties as hostess. But Pierre now committed a further act of discourtesy. Having left the lady before she had finished speaking to him, he now detained one who was trying to get away from him. With lowered head, his big feet planted far apart, he commenced explaining to Anna Pavlovna why he considered the Abbe's plans visionary. "We'll talk about it later," said Anna Pavlovna with a smile. But having got rid of this young man who did not know how to behave, she returned to her duties as hostess, listening carefully, watching, ready to give aid at any point where conversation flagged, just as the foreman of a spinning mill once has set the hands to work, walks through the factory, and when he notices any stoppage, any unaccustomed creak or rattle of spindle, quickly checks its actions or sets it going. So Anna Pavlovna moved about her drawing room, approaching now a group that had fallen silent. One where the talk was immoderately loud, and by a word or some slight rearrangement, set the conversation scene in a steady motion. Among these cares, her anxiety about Pierre was particularly noticeable. She kept an anxious watch on him as he approached a group around Watermark, to listen to what was being said there, and afterward, when he moved to another group where the Abbe Morio was talking. Pierre had been educated abroad, and this soiree of Anna Pavlovna's was the first he had ever attended in Russia. He knew that all the intelligentsia of Petersburg were assembled there, and like a child in a toy shop he was dazzled and continually fearful of missing any clever conversation there was to be heard. Observing the self-confident, genteel expressions of those present, he kept expecting to hear something especially clever. At last he went up to Morio. The conversation seemed to be interesting, and he remained there, waiting for an opportunity to express his own ideas, as young people are so fond of doing. Thank you.